I don't know if anyone will believe me, but I need to write this down somewhere, partly to make sense of it, partly because I can't keep it to myself anymore. When I moved into this house last February, I wasn't looking for anything fancy, just something quiet and cheap, close enough to work that I could pretend my life was finally stable again. The landlord, an older man named Arthur, seemed relieved when I said yes. He handed me the keys, like he couldn't wait to get rid of them. The place itself wasn't bad, a small single-story home with peeling paint and creaky floors, the kind of house that still smells faintly of someone else's life. There was a shelf full of old books in the living room, a few scratches on the walls, and curtains that didn't quite close all the way. It didn't bother me. At the time, I just needed somewhere to be alone. For the first few nights, it was quiet. Too quiet, actually. No neighbors nearby, no traffic, just the wind moving through the empty street. Then, around the third night, I started waking up at exactly 3:12 a.m. each time, always to the same thing, the sound of someone walking down the hallway. Not heavy footsteps, not the clumsy thud of an intruder, soft, deliberate steps, like a woman pacing barefoot on old wood. I thought it was just the house settling, maybe my mind playing tricks on me, but the footsteps always stopped right outside my door. And if I held my breath long enough, I could hear something even stranger. Quiet breathing, like someone trying not to be heard. I told myself I was being ridiculous. But that same morning, when I went to make coffee, I noticed something new. The mug I'd left in the sink the night before had been washed, dried, and placed neatly back on the counter. I live alone. I didn't mention the mug to anyone. Who would I tell? I'd barely talked to people at work, and the few friends I had left were tired of hearing about my bad luck. Still, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I told myself maybe I'd done it half asleep. Maybe my mind was just foggy from the move. But a few nights later, something else happened. It was raining hard that night, the kind of rain that makes the roof sound like it's breathing. I woke up again at 3:12 a.m., but this time the sound wasn't footsteps. It was humming, soft, tuneless, just a woman humming somewhere down the hall. It wasn't menacing. If anything, it sounded sad, like someone trying to remember a melody they'd forgotten. When I finally got the courage to open my bedroom door, the sound stopped. The hallway was empty, but the air felt warm, almost like someone had been standing right there a moment ago. I don't know why, but I whispered, "Hello?" Something about that silence afterward made my chest tighten. Not fear exactly, more like the feeling you get when you realize you're intruding on someone's grief. The next morning, I found the source of the humming. It came from an old jewelry box in the top drawer of the bedroom dresser. A tiny music box, painted white with faded roses on the lid. When I opened it, the song was the same one I'd heard the night before. The figure inside was missing its dancer, just a metal pin spinning alone. I decided to call the landlord. Arthur didn't pick up, so I left a voicemail asking if the previous owner had left anything behind. Furniture, keepsakes, anything sentimental. I didn't expect a response, but later that evening, he called back. His voice was quieter this time. "I thought I cleared everything out," he said. "You found her music box, didn't you?" "Yeah," I said. "Whose was it?" He hesitated. Then he sighed. "Her name was Clara. She rented the place before you. Lived there almost 20 years. Lost her husband in an accident. Never really recovered. She died in that house about 6 months before you moved in." He paused again before adding, "I should have gotten rid of that box. She used to play it every night before bed." That night, I didn't hear footsteps or humming. But when I woke up in the morning, The music box was sitting on my nightstand, closed, perfectly centered, and the air in the room smelled faintly of lavender and smoke. After that night, I couldn't bring myself to throw the music box away. I tried once, carried it to the trash bin outside, but my hands started shaking so badly that I dropped it. The lid snapped open, but tunes started to play again, and for a second, I thought I saw something move in the reflection of the brass lid. It wasn't my face. That's when I started dreaming about her. The first dream was faint. I was standing in my bedroom, but everything looked older. The wallpaper was floral instead of plain beige. The curtains were lace, and there were framed photos on the dresser that I didn't recognize. I saw a woman sitting on the bed, brushing her hair. Her back was to me, but I could see the pale curve of her shoulder, the way her head tilted slightly as if she were listening for something. The same song from the music box played softly in the background. When she turned toward me, I woke up. I couldn't remember her face, but I felt a deep sadness, like I just said goodbye to someone I loved. The dreams kept coming. Each time I saw a little more. Her hands arranging flowers in a vase, a letter burning in the fireplace, her sitting by the window long after sunset. She never spoke, but I began to sense what she wanted me to feel. Loneliness, regret, a grief so heavy it pressed against the walls. I started noticing her presence when I was awake too. Lights dimmed when I entered the bedroom. The air would shift, a faint static, the way the world feels just before a thunderstorm. Sometimes I'd find objects slightly moved, a book turned open on a page about loss, a photo frame tilted toward me, the music box placed carefully beside whatever I'd been writing. One night, I found a note I hadn't written. It was folded neatly inside the jewelry box. In faded ink, it said, "Please don't let them forget me." The next morning, I called Arthur again, demanding to know more. He sounded weary, almost guilty. Clara didn't have any family left, he said. Her husband's accident took everything from her. She stayed there long after she should have moved on. The house was all she had. I asked how she died. He hesitated. In her sleep. That night, the dreams changed. When I saw Clara again, she wasn't brushing her hair or sitting by the window. She was standing right beside me. She whispered something I still can't forget. "You don't have to leave." When I woke up, the bed beside me was indented, as if someone had been lying there. I stopped checking the clock when I woke up at night. There was no point. It was always around 3 a.m., and by then, I already knew she'd be there. Sometimes it was just the sound of the floorboards, the soft creak, like someone shifting their weight. Other times, I'd feel it more than hear it, a warmth at my side, a breath that wasn't mine. The strange thing was, I wasn't afraid anymore. The fear had turned into something else, something quieter. I started leaving the music box open on my nightstand, the melody filling the room as I fell asleep. It made the house feel less empty, even if I knew deep down it wasn't me she was staying for. Still, I started talking to her. At first, just a whisper in the dark. "Good night, Clara." Then, longer conversations when I got home from work. I'd read aloud from her old books, leave flowers on the windowsill, even hum the melody she seemed to love so much. The more I did, the stronger her presence became. The air would shimmer faintly at the edge of my vision, like heat rising off asphalt. Mirrors fogged up without reason. Once, I caught a glimpse of a reflection that didn't match mine. The outline of a woman standing slightly behind me, her face soft and sorrowful. I tried to tell myself I was imagining it. That grief, hers, mine, was just finding company in itself. But then I started losing time. I'd wake up in the living room with no memory of falling asleep. Dishes I hadn't touched would be washed and put away. Sometimes I'd catch the faint smell of lavender and old perfume clinging to my clothes. A few nights later, I dreamed I was sitting in the same chair Clara had used in my visions, by the window, music box in hand. Outside, snow was falling. The house looked brighter, fuller, as if time had rewound. She stood behind me, her hand resting lightly on my shoulder. "Now you see," she whispered. "It's peaceful here." When I woke up, I was still sitting in the chair. The curtains were open, and the music box was in my lap, still playing, though I hadn't wound it. That morning, I noticed something carved faintly into the underside of the lid, "For the one who stays." I thought it was a message to her husband, but lately, I'm not so sure, because the longer I stay here, the harder it gets to remember what my life was before this house. Sometimes, when I catch my reflection in the window at night, I think I see her smiling back. It's strange how quickly a place can begin to feel like it owns you. When I first moved in, the house felt too big, too quiet, just walls and echoes. Now it feels alive. Every creak, every whisper through the vents, every soft sigh of wood in the night. It feels like breath, like it's listening. I've stopped trying to leave. I tell myself it's because the rent is cheap, or because I've grown attached to the solitude. But that isn't true. Every time I pack my bags, something stops me. The lights flicker. The music box plays by itself. The air grows heavy, as if the house itself is holding me there. And then she appears. Last night was the clearest I've ever seen her. No longer a blur or reflection. She was sitting at the edge of my bed, her hands folded neatly in her lap, her hair falling like a dark curtain over her shoulders. "Clara," I whispered. She smiled, just barely. Her lips didn't move when she spoke, but I heard her voice in my head, soft and aching. I was so lonely. I wanted to tell her I understood. That loneliness can fill a house like smoke, invisible, choking, impossible to escape. But before I could speak, she leaned closer, her face inches from mine. "You don't have to leave," she said again. "Not anymore." The warmth of her words spread through me, and for a moment it felt like love, like comfort. But when I blinked, she was gone, and I realized my hands were cold, numb, my breath fogging in the air. I don't think she means to hurt me. I think she just wants someone to stay. I found more of her things this morning. A small stack of letters hidden behind the dresser, all addressed to her husband, all unsent. The last one was unfinished. "If I can't leave this place," it read, "then maybe it will remember me instead." Her handwriting stopped halfway through the page, as if she'd fallen asleep mid-sentence. And now, I think I understand. The house doesn't just hold memories, it keeps them. It feeds on what's left, the longing, the sorrow, the need to belong somewhere, even after death. Maybe Clara didn't die here by accident. Maybe she stayed because she couldn't let go, and now it's found someone else who can't. The last few nights, I've stopped dreaming of her. Instead, I dream of the house, its empty rooms, its silent walls, the faint sound of humming echoing down the hallway. Sometimes, when I wake up, I can't tell if I'm in her time or mine. The wallpaper flickers between beige and floral. The light through the window shifts from morning to dusk in an instant. I keep thinking I should leave, but when I try, my feet feel heavy, the door handle cold and unmoving beneath my hand. The music box sits open on my nightstand, waiting. Its tune never ends now. And sometimes, when I catch my reflection in the mirror, it isn't my face I see anymore. It's hers, smiling,